42 terrifying minutes.
I just kept saying, Lord help, Lord help.
Revealed 20 devastating miles.
The day after is chaotic. It looked like a war zone.
The largest of the 15 Memorial Day tornadoes, an EF4 ripping apart 4,000 Montgomery County properties.
The whole gable end of the house and the roof was ripped off.
Now, 6 months later, our team found challenges as varied as triumphs, ruins, and repairs, and an overall lingering emotional toll revealed, walking the path of the storm.
A dangerous situation that has been ongoing is this. I'm sorry, I'm getting choked.
It's okay. And I would advise anybody with kids, get the bike helmets on them. Put them in the basement, put the helmets on them. You know, this is not a time to think about anything looking silly. Please stay safe.
Wow, Cheryl, it is unbelievable to think that it's been 6 months now since we were here in the WHIO TV studios on Memorial Day, living through those terrifying moments together and with our Channel 7 viewers.
We were so worried about your safety for about 3 hours as 15 tornadoes hit across the Miami Valley. And at one point, McCall was even worried that the biggest storm, the EF4, might hit our downtown Dayton studio.
Yeah, and that EF4 is our team's main focus. This map here shows you the 20-mile path that catastrophic tornado took that night across northern Montgomery County. And 6 months later, that still means issues for many Miami Valley residents in Montgomery County. Brookville and Trotwood were in the path of that storm. Terrace Park was the first neighborhood hit.
And I could hear the tornado sirens for a split second, and I was like, we should probably get in the hallway.
It would turn out Kayla Benton, rushing from work to here, what used to be her Brookville home, would save the college student and her family from a catastrophic EF4 tornado.
It went dark and it went quiet, and then the tornado came right down the street.
Now, 6 months after the largest of the Memorial Day tornadoes, their home is an unrecognizable large slab. The storm would devastate her Terrace Park neighborhood. Altogether on Memorial Day, 70% of her subdivision's 192 homes were destroyed or severely damaged.
Well, the day after is chaotic. It looked like a war zone.
Terrace Park landlord Bob Elkins knows all about the storm's lingering emotional toll.
But it's amazing that of my 3 tenants, none of them were injured at all.
Extensive damage meant his renters immediately lost their homes. That meant Elkins and his wife lost that income. Even though they're now rebuilding, they'll never be landlords again here.
My wife and I have decided after repairs were made, we're going to sell them.
In all, most of the 228 Brookville homes damaged were in Terrace Park. At the time we started walking the storm's path last month, Brookville's city manager told our team 161 of those homes either had work completed or crews were making minor repairs.
My insurance agent actually was standing here the very next morning.
Despite all of that, Kayla's dad, Ed Kirkland, says his family's chosen to move. That night's constant visual reminder is just too much to bear. For other Terrace Park residents, our Dayton Daily News partners found time seems to be frozen.
I mean, some houses look like they weren't even touched. Some houses are gone completely. Others look like the storm was yesterday.
These pictures show how some are proudly rebuilding, like Gloria and Kevin Pennington, who cannot imagine raising their 4 kids anywhere else. Others, grappling with insurance battles, are debating their futures.
Like 1 in 3 were either destroyed or had major damage. So you can tell how kind of hit and miss it was.
At this point in the EF4 twister's path, it was growing to its highest wind speeds, up close to 170 miles per hour. It was taking down trees and landmarks like the Hare Arena.
We heard the vent in the bathroom like that, and it kept getting faster.
Scary memories for Makila Bent. She and her dog Champion survived the EF4 huddling in her bathroom. just like she'd huddled as she held onto a basement pole during Xenia's deadly 1974 F5 twister.
Well, who knew that I would be going through it again?
And going through it, she has. Bent moved to Trotwood's Shiloh Gardens subdivision 1 month before the tornado. Despite having insurance and moving back months ago, boards still line her windows. She and so many others in Shiloh Gardens say they've struggled with contractors. This tree trimmer was finishing up a job someone else was paid to do. A contractor backlog has also meant delays. Back on this October day, 5 months after the storm, was the first day work began on this waterlogged home.
These two streets, I've counted at least 18 homes that have been demolished.
We had damages to the roof, and the exterior has been taken care of.
But Bishop Alfred Ringer feels blessed. Insurance has covered most repairs. Inside, a diligent spirit, thanks primarily to nearby churches, is helping them rebuild.
They brought their members over, and that just showed you the heart of Dayton.
Strong hearts in the face of an uncertain future.
Our team, it could take 2 to 3 years for the city's population to return to normal. That's important because the U.S. Census Bureau's national head count, which affects federal funding for the next decade, is just months away. City officials are urging displaced residents to report their permanent address as Trotwood.
After a violent EF4 tornado displaced hundreds in Brookville and Trotwood.
It's not something that just goes away.
The monster storm hit Harrison Township the hardest.
There's tons of water damage inside.
6 months later, our team hears stories of rebuilding struggles and successes. Neighborhoods and pieces of Mother Nature forever changed.
My family's here. This is where I grew up. I would never leave Dayton.
But some hope that change is for the better.
Houses can be replaced. Lives can't.
As we continue walking the path of the storm.
It got incredibly loud. We could hear the pipes shaking against one another, water being sucked through those pipes, and just the biggest bangs all over.
Those bangs, outside Allison Saldivar's Harrison Township home, were from the EF4 ripping apart hundreds of trees.
And I just remember thinking, all the trees are gone.
6 months later, they are. Her once secluded home, above the Stillwater River, is no longer shielded from Shoup Mill Road.
But without being able to fix the roof properly and quickly, there was tons of water damage inside.
No quick fix is a common theme our team heard.
This here is our living room. At one point.
With so many homes damaged,
a contractor was supposed to rebuild this house.
There is a contractor backlog.
But situations changed, things changed, so we ended up having to buy another house.
We still have to fix our garage. We have windows still shattered that we're working on fixing.
And beyond those fixes, Brianne Ensko says tree service has been her family's biggest issue.
But we have this huge tree that's about this big around stump that we need to get out. And I have no idea how to do that.
Her neighborhood, near Loretta and Swallow Drives, was one of Harrison Township's hardest hit residential areas. But with so many having insurance problems, she's considered her family lucky.
They've been very helpful with us. They came right out, got our vehicles fixed, gave us the money we need to work.
From the ground and from the air, our team saw how tarps still covered so much. So many businesses impacted are still in a state of disarray. Sinclair Park may not open again until 2021. Most of the park's 415 trees, documented to be more than 200 years old, were destroyed.
Join us at our grand reopening and celebrate with us.
But our team also spotted a major Harrison Township comeback story. Evans Arena car dealership, who had $9 million in storm damage, will reopen December 5th. Thanks to an insurance policy, their owner was able to pay employees for the last 6 months.
My family's here. This is where I grew up. My children grew up here. I would never leave Dayton.
Brianne Ensko's sense of determination not to move is something she shares with Allison Saldivar, despite a life-changing change in scenery. Home is where the heart is, after all.
Just taking the opportunity to rearrange my house or pick out a new color roof and kind of decorate in different ways just to make it feel new and fresh again.
You know, to hear her talk about the pipe shaking
Yeah.
and hearing the trees and so forth, it's those little nuances that you look at what they will never forget for the rest
And all
of their
those
life.
trees in Sinclair Park that are gone. But I also like her positive attitude but by everyone in that story who say, now, let's look at it differently. You know, we're going to move forward. It's just different now.
And looking at it differently is exactly what Allison is doing. She was telling us that now that the trees aren't there, as sad as that is, she's able to see the sparkling city lights off in the distance at nighttime, and she's able to see the sunrise in the morning, something that she couldn't see before. And I know the landscape has changed a lot there, and Dante, you've seen that firsthand.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to her point, I mean, there were a lot of trees behind her house, and it's a beautiful view now, but boy, is it scary to see that house on stilts. I mean, and it looks like stilts, and it looks like it could fall off into the river. She's really scary.
Optimism. I mean,
Yeah.
that is, it's profound.
It is profound. And there are so many stories about other Harrison Township businesses recovering as well.
20 life-changing miles.
At that point, I thought, we're going to die.
Not defined by one of the most intense tornadoes that can be measured, but by a Dayton-strong spirit committed to comeback.
It means that progress is still going on, and 6 months later.
As the journey from Brookville to Trotwood, Harrison Township, and Northridge comes to an end,
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
we traveled to where the EF4 ended 6 months ago today, as our team learns what North Dayton and Riverside still need,
And a lot of the houses that were abandoned will need to come down.
and where the community's moving, walking the path of the storm.
You could clearly hear it, and then pass, and it became silent, and then it started passing again. So it was almost like two tornadoes.
As Matthew Tepper and his wife took cover in their old North Dayton basement, around the corner,
I got hit by a stick. It was about this long and about this thick.
a branch smashing through Barbara Del Grosso's home off Troy Street woke her up. Thankfully, she survived the EF4, but like dozens our team has talked with, her car was not as lucky.
And looked at the car, and he said, "Oh my God, it's demolished." And it was.
Car problems led some our team heard from to lose jobs. And as we discovered soon after the tornado, so much loss in general could be seen across North Dayton. 6 months later, our view from the air showed us much of that damage, including a destroyed grocery store, still remains. The search is on for a food desert solution.
There are a lot of people in this neighborhood who can afford their own groceries, but they don't have the transportation to go out to get to a full-size grocery store.
I feel really bad for the people who live there.
That sense of empathy from contractors like John Scott continues from his firsthand experience. So many tornado victims needing services like his.
Actually, we do about 300 properties a year with the city contracts, and we're probably up to about 450 this year with the tornado.
For Dayton alone, the EF4 impacted 825 properties, including this 70,000 square foot warehouse.
It needed to be taken down, so we demolished it and hauled everything away.
Those Dayton buildings, on top of more than 3,500 others in Montgomery County. On top of them, there's the property damage 14 other Miami Valley tornadoes left behind that same night, it continues to mean a real-life supply and demand lesson.
And a lot of the houses were abandoned will need to come down.
I say there's about 60 neighbors gone.
A lot of houses don't have insurance.
Some of them have insurance. Some of them are landlords. They may have insurance on their primary residence, but not their rentals.
I didn't go outside. I just went to the door. If I'd opened the door, it would have sucked me completely out of the house.
Daryl Connolly considers himself incredibly lucky. His virtually untouched home was different from many of his Overlook Mutual apartment neighbors.
His roof was completely gone. And then the guy next to him, Steve, he's still got that piece of wood sticking in his gable.
And we were watching you on the news.
Down the street near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Steve Griffin, who also lives in Overlook Mutual apartment, heard my warning. His fiancée urged him to take cover with her in the bathroom.
Well, when we opened up the bathroom, it looked like a snow globe.
Today, the dirt, leaves, and insulation that were floating through the air have been cleaned up, like many of the 63 Riverside properties sustaining some damage 6 months ago. The rebuilding, for so many our team talked to,
I believe it was $60,000 to rebuild one,
is only part of the recovery stories. Mentally, the storm has left its mark.
It bothered me for months because, one, I felt bad that I didn't protect her good enough. We were in a situation we both could have got killed.
Just one sign of the invisible Memorial Day tornado wounds left behind for so many of our neighbors, still struggling to rebuild after a life-changing storm.
Yeah.
Those numbers are just, when you see those numbers and hear those stories, you realize how many people are still so affected by this.
And we were talking, most impactful 6 months later is the fact that folks don't have easy access to food.
Yeah, you think, okay, people have been displaced, they're working to get back to their homes, but Old North Dayton, when I found out that the only grocery store that they had is no longer, and then to hear that they have the money, but they can't get anywhere to buy food, just really hurt my heart. And I think, this is the time of the year. We've given a lot to our community, this year, but if you just had a little bit that you could give back, that would probably be a great idea.
Again, as we've talked before, so many people have moved on with their lives and think everything's great, but drive a few miles away and it's still rough.
Our neighbors aren't so fortunate.
No.
Yeah, it is unfortunate.